All right, welcome back to Influential Dental. I'm Julieanne O'Connor, co-host with Michael Keeter, my dear friend extraordinaire in so many areas of dentistry. And we have a very special guest today, Dr. Mike Czubiak, my very good friend also, but for much longer than even what I've known Michael Keeter for. And I can't wait to introduce him, but first shout out to my co-host, Mike. How are you?
Excellent, Joanne. Great to be here again and talk with Dr. Mike. Looking forward to hearing about when you met and some of the adventures that you all had.
Amazing. So, Dr. Mike Czubiak, let me just give a quick introduction. So, Dr. Mike Czubiak is an author. He authored the book Hygiene Superstar. He is a podcaster. I'll let you tell the audience about your podcast. He is the president this year of the American Academy of Oral Health. I said that right? Right?
Almost the American Academy for Oral Systemic Health.
Okay, that one. He's the president of this incredible organization, and it's also his passion for the listeners. Oral systemic health specifically is a huge passion of Dr. Mike Czubiak's. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But he also runs a very successful dental practice in Camarillo called Camarillo Smiles, which he has run since I met him after I bought a house kitty corner across the street from his practice. Countless so many years ago. And he is also the co-founder of the Nano Podcast Alliance with me, which is another exciting project and venture. But without getting further in depth and going on to like your board of this and that and all the other stuff. Hello, welcome.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we tried this before, we were talking a little bit about how we met. So, which was when you were working at Camarillo Smiles. You still have Camarillo Smiles, right?
Yes, I still run that.
Yeah. And how many clinicians are there?
Well, we have 3 dentists and about 8 hygienists.
Okay. Yeah. So fun fact at that practice, you also for many years had an art gallery, which was dedicated to what, which,
It was, Cal State Channel Islands, and they had just moved to town, and which was great. I always wanted to live in a college town, but I thought I'd have to move to a college town, but a college moved to my town, which was cool. They didn't have any art space. I always wanted to open up an art gallery. I always wanted to be an art gallery. I mean, a gallery owner. I know that that's a dream of many people, right, Julianne? And I reached out to the university to see if they wanted to use my space. Now, why did I do that? Because I bought a book called Running a Art Gallery, and I got to page 2 and said, this wasn't for me. And I put it down and got the university to install, they used my space. I gave them my space to show off.
so they could run it
Yeah,
for
they could
you.
run it, do classes on how to run an art gallery, do all that. So it was really a good time until I expanded, needed that space, and they had
Yeah.
more space at that time. So
Nice. Yeah, I was really sad when you expanded, actually. Although it was a beautiful operatory or 2 or 3 and you included like what was it, the lab for kids at that point, and you created like a whole build out. But prior to that, so Michael Keeter, what you may or may not know about me, I don't know if I told you that, but I had an art gallery also in Old Town Camarillo. So we used to do the art scene together, Mike and I did, and that was tons of fun. We drank a lot of wine back then. I don't know if we drink as much wine nowadays, but anyway, yeah. So there you have it. So Dr. Mike Czubiak, tell us what you're working on. What's going on with this organization that you're now president of, and catch us up. Bring us up to speed with what does life look like as Dr. Mike Czubiak running around this world, speaking and teaching what you are bad at. You say, I
I
teach what I need to learn to know. So that's the same idea. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, if you see me speaking, it's because I'm trying to get better at that thing. So everything is just like where I am today, talking with Mike and Julieanne is really the result of things, what my life needed. And this is just where I end up. So I have been speaking a lot, but why did I start speaking? Because I had my first associate he was so shy, he couldn't speak to my team. He wanted to give memos to everyone. I said, you got to be able to be comfortable speaking. So we went to Toastmasters together, and he lasted about an hour and a half, and I lasted for a year. And it just gave me the skills to be able to go out there and speak. So then I started using that in order to just to get better at things. But then I go to a conference. I went to my first AAOSH, American Academy for Oral and Systemic Health meeting, and it just blew my mind away so much that I wanted to get the message out. So that's what led me to writing the book Hygiene Superstar, because the idea that in dentistry, and sorry if I'm talking so much, interrupt me at any point, but this is a 12-hour podcast today, right?
It
Yeah, it
is.
is.
It's going to go 12 to 14 at max.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, there are series on this, but we've been in dentistry. We've been figuring out ways to save our teeth for longer and longer and longer. And this conference was about how to save people's lives and keep them alive longer, which I thought that's a great idea as a business owner. I'm like, man, that's a patient that's going to last longer. So let's see if we can save some lives here. And so this organization was all about inflammation reduction and how the body is affected by our oral health, and really getting into the science of it. Blew me away, but I knew that everyone besides me needed to know about this. So I wrote the book Hygiene Superstar so that hygienists could impart this knowledge on to everyone else. And fast forward to 2025, all of a sudden I'm president of this organization that changed my life, changed everything. And like everything else, there's a selfish aspect to this too, because my father, he had his first heart attack at 48, died at 60, complete inflammatory burden sort of guy. If he walked into my office now, it'd be a totally different scene. Periodontal disease, rheumatoid arthritis, sleep apnea, all of these things that are huge contributors to the inflammation that ends up chronic inflammation will kill about 70% of us. And so, yeah, I thought this would be good for me to know this, not for myself, because I don't actually care if I die, but that's a whole nother
But
conversation.
primarily because you're like Debbie Downer. You just want to destroy our lives.
No,
Well, no, he wants to keep his patients around longer. I mean, that's very
Mess with
noble of you.
no, my life is complete. After I got this invitation to be on Influential Dental, I thought, okay, I can die now. But I have passed on my genes to my kids. So I thought I need to kind of learn as much as I can and then kind of help them if they are interested in knowing what they can do to better their health. So that's where this journey ended up. And next thing you know, I can't believe helping run this organization. It's really been a cool thing.
Hey, Mike, I have
Yeah.
a question about that real quick, Julianne. Is it taking this long for this information to get out there? Or is it, because I assume this has been around forever, right? Systemic health, dental, or is periodontal disease becoming more of an epidemic? I'm just curious why it's taking so long for the medical community, everyone else, to see this relation with the dental cavity.
So one of the my least favorite quotes on earth is "change is hard." I don't resonate with that at all. When I hire people, I say if you don't like change, then you're in the wrong place. If whatever we're doing today is for today only. If I hear something better, we're going to do something better tomorrow. I steal from Maya Angelou when she says, "Do good until you know better, and then do better." But change is hard. So Paul Keyes, who is one of the he is the guy that came up with the red complex idea of bacteria causing periodontal disease and all of this. He was fought by organized dentistry basically until his death. And he died at a nice old age because he took care of his oral hygiene. But the idea of disrupting things, there's a whole bunch of these things. I wanted to do a whole podcast on where dentistry is stagnant. But I couldn't come up with a good title because I don't think that's a good title. But the idea is that
Dentistry is stagnant.
stagnant.
Change is hard. Dentistry is stagnant. And we're all 70% of us at least are going to die from oral
Well, that's
systemic
why you're
health
on,
problems.
and that's why you're on Influential Dental, to provide that influence to the rest of the community
See, Michael, by
to
the
do it.
way, yeah, Michael is the nicer one of us, by the way. If you haven't figured that out by now, the whole audience out there knows that. But carry on. No, this is really good information, of course. And I know there's a reason why you're passionate about this.
Yeah.
So
When I so the organization was started by Chris Kammer back in like 2011, something like that, 2010, 2011, and some really amazing people in it that are interested in helping people to our full extent. And in dentistry, we have three huge easy opportunities, which is periodontal disease, endodontic lesions, like those lesions at the tips of root canals that are poisoning our system. And then we have airway issues, because those are three that are easy for us to do. And so I started changing my practice to get into all that. But when I wrote this Hygiene Superstar in 2016, I remember I got a thing from Chicago Midwinter, and they said, "We want you to speak in 2019." And I'm like, by then everyone's gonna know this. This is I figured the book had an 18. I think it had an 18-month shelf life maximum. And instead, here we are in 2025. Because so I ended up speaking in 2019, and then they said, "Yeah, I would like you to come back in 2021." I'm like, okay, by then everyone's gonna know all this stuff. But I just spoke in Scottsdale to a big DSO group, and yeah, people are hearing this stuff for the first time, and they were nice enough to purchase a couple hundred of my books. So I can't believe 9 years later it's still selling. And yeah, it's just I don't, it's but it is a disruptor. It's easier to just do what we know, and it takes certain bandwidth. And it's not, I hate to say it's not for everyone to go full out into it, but being able to ask that question, hey, Mr. Patient, you have diabetes. How, are you able to control your numbers very well? And they're like, yeah, not really. And then to be able to look in their mouth and say, man, with all this periodontal disease, there's a bidirectional relationship. It's hard to keep that under control with diabetes, and it's hard to keep diabetes under control with these gums. So, this would be a good idea to get your periodontal health in order so you can then get to your diabetes so you don't end up having both your legs amputated, so
I was going to say that should be at the forefront of the dental care, because you're right. Someone traditional is just like, okay, let's just treat the symptom, right? If you need to extract a tooth or you need to do a filling, and then we forget about the rest of the mouth, right? And that should be, hopefully in most practices, something that's done up front, right? Some sort of medical screening, some sort of full health, to see what's contributed to other diseases. Because again, more people go to their dentist, I would think, on a regular basis than go somewhere else to help them with their other physical, needs on the medical side of it. So I would hope that that's becoming more mainstream, Mike. It's not like an afterthought, that this is being looked at seriously from day one.
yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of so there's a thing in medical research. They say it takes about 17 to 20 years for studies to get into clinical practice. So the clinical knowledge we oftentimes have is really pretty old. And if you look at well, that's of course, unless it's a product or a drug or something that can be pushed around by reps. But the idea is that, like, for instance, in um, last year, I had I just felt like I was gonna die. So I just felt like I just felt out of sorts, and I have lived a couple of years past my dad's age of dying from a heart attack. So, maybe there's something there. I don't know. Um, but I'm feeling out of sorts. Take my blood pressure. It's like 165 over 135. I'm like, what the heck? So chill out for a little bit, take it again. It's still really high. Wake up the next day. I still feel horrible. I run to the cardiologist, looks at me and says, "Oh, congratulations, you're in good shape." I'm like, "Did you miss the part where I said I feel like I'm gonna die?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, but everything looks good." I said, "Well, my blood pressure is really high, and it's always normal, and this is really out of whack for me." He's like, "Well, until it gets about 180, we don't really care about that." And I'm like, "Well, I actually care about that. Did I mention I feel like I'm gonna die?" And so then I swear I look up at the calendar, and the day is January 12th. That's the day that both my father and then 23 years later, my father-in-law passed away from heart attacks. And I'm like, this is so unreal. It's like, this is January 12th, that day. And he says, "Oh, you must be really upset over that, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, that was like 26 years ago. I'm over it, I'm good." And he's like, "Oh, well, I got someone you can talk to." So he gives me a referral to a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So I'm driving back to the office, and I'm tasting a little pus in my mouth. And as a dentist, you get really sensitive to this. I'm like, "What's that?" And it turns out, so I go, "What the heck?" So I go and I get back to the office. I take a scan of number 30. I had a root canal done 12 years ago, kind of just to save this cracked tooth. And I look at it, and it's totally infected. And I immediately go on antibiotics, get it taken out a little bit after that. And what what the cardiologist didn't know that I was very aware of was a 2013 study that came out in the American Heart Association's journal, Circulation, that showed that about 50% of heart attacks are triggered by oral infections. They literally pulled out a blood clot of people that were having heart attacks. And they looked at them and they were teeming with strep viridans, which comes from basically the roots of infected teeth. And it was in numbers. It was in 78% of the people had them in like really high numbers. And so they came to that conclusion. And since then, there have been a whole bunch of other studies. But how do we get this information out? I could have just gone off and died because of a stupid tooth because it was asymptomatic. But it was like, I looked at the scans like, oh my God, that thing has to go. So, and then I just felt great. My blood pressure came back to normal and everything's been cool. So that's kind of the sort of the thinking. The asking why a lot is kind of what's fueled my journey, is like, why? And it just leads me to the next path.
So I have a question. So when you and I first started working together, it took you years before you would invite me into dental. You were so scared of me, I think. But once you finally did, you and I and Steve Sperry, we used to run these leadership retreats. Lotus, which was named after my daughter. Obviously not you, but you, my daughter was named Lotus. You had these retreats already before I came in, called Lotus, and then at one point called Secret Sauce. And we would take these doctors, clinicians into Sundance and stay in those big, beautiful cabins. I still miss that. We need to do that again, by the way. And we would put them through 3 intensive days of leadership training. And, you always said nobody wants to do leadership training. Do you remember saying all of this? Has that changed? I'm curious. First and foremost.
It's changed a little bit. I think there's more awareness. And just getting back to Mike's thing, also, I think the awareness for mouth body connection stuff is definitely better. Leadership also, it's not, it's not it used to be if I said, hey, I got this leadership retreat. And if I see this blank look on my face, on the person's face, I'd think, okay, you're someone who needs to go. But if someone says, wow, that's really cool, I'm like, okay, you don't need us. You're already a good leader. It was like, it's so easy to tell if someone's a good leader. Just say, I'm really into leadership, and see what people's reaction is. And people that are good leaders go, oh my God, that's the secret to freedom. It's the secret to life. It's the freedom to everything. Even so Lotus was a lead our team to ultimate success. And I swear, it's so weird that all of a sudden you come into my life with a daughter named Lotus. It was pretty wacky. But the reason I really got into leadership was because I was a bad leader and I was frustrated with my 3 or 4 employees or whatever at the time. And I thought, this is so bad. But I love the idea of having a bigger team so that I could afford to have all the lasers and toys and digital stuff and all the imaging, all the things. I knew I looked to the future and I said, man, everything's going to be really expensive. And as a solo dentist, the idea of being able to afford all the stuff, all the fun stuff today is impossible. So I thought I need to have a bigger office, but I'm afraid to death of increasing my team. So what did I do? I said, we got to teach leadership so I can learn leadership. So it
And he's
seems
only
like
gotten worse since. No, I'm just kidding.
it's like I always would say it's a journey of 1,000 steps, but it's just like it's like, okay, I'm at 998. No, I'm not. I'm at 43, because the more you know how bad you are, the more you realize you're nowhere close to being a good leader. So I would never pretend to be a great leader, but it is the number one skill to be learned after dental school, because even if you're going to be an employee or sell your practice out to a DSO or whatever, it just helps you in all aspects of your life. So there's, and I know this podcast, it's funny that, influential dental, it turns out that a lot of these influential dental people are all about leadership. So maybe there's some connection there,
But the one of the number one things to these influential leaders is exactly what you're doing and demonstrating, which is total humility. That you're not claiming you're some extraordinary, genius on human psychology, even though you may be in a lot of ways and you may understand neuroscience, you may understand all these things, we're still always navigating the different dynamics of different human beings and all their backgrounds. And the dynamics are different with every human being, even though human beings have tendencies, right, that we can put together. So there's so much to learn. But yeah, Michael Keeter, I'm sorry, I did
I
shut
was
you
going
up.
to say, no, I was going to say leadership in general. Some people think leadership has to be that you have to be like the president of this or, the CEO. No, you can lead by lead yourself, but also you can lead a small group or a team. You can lead in critical situations or just, over everyday tasks. So I think that gets lost as well. I mean, leadership is just a way of being, can be learned. I do think you need to have some sort of intentional fortitude to say, hey, I'm going to take that next step, or at least surround yourself with those type of people to challenge you. So I think it's, as a good leader, which I know you are, Mike and Julieanne, is you recognize maybe some of the issue or some of the areas where you can improve, and you find those around you that can help elevate you, and then you just elevate yourself and do. So that's why I like it, is because again, it can be taught at an early age. I mean, I coached youth sports for years, and you could see, even 6-year-olds or 8-year-olds leading others. I mean, it's not an age thing. It's not an IQ thing. It's just an action thing. And it's the way you do it. And I agree with you, Joanne, about humility. And that was leading into my next question, because obviously influential dental, and you brought that up, but influence versus leadership, how those do intersect. Do you need to be influential to be a leader? Do you need to be a leader to be influential? I'm just curious, both of your takes on that.
Well, I mean, my feeling is you can be influential without being a great leader. There's a ton of influential people out there that I think people see as leaders, and it scares the crap out of me because, anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
He's going to avoid politics today, clearly. That's totally unusual, by the way. But, since we're.
This is actually just in the dental world. I
And the
just think
politics there, too.
there's this, to me, one of the things that I do really believe in with leadership is whatever your responsibility is, you gotta like own it. You gotta, and you may not even have asked for it. It brings me back to Michael Jordan. I love Michael Jordan, great as a basketball player, wonderful. But I remember when he was getting into gambling and doing that sort of stuff, people were saying, "Hey, dude, you're so influential. You're such a role model for these kids. Do you think you should be doing this sort of stuff?" He said, "Hey, I didn't ask to be a role model." It's like, yeah, you may not have asked, but you have this platform, so you could either do good or you can do bad. It's just your choice. And I'm not judging him because I don't know the whole situation well enough to do it. I'm just using this as an example.
I thought you were judging Michael and me or something instead. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. No.
And knowing that I am no one to ever judge really anything, but I do, although I do, when I see people that have a big microphone in front of them saying things that are putting people that aren't using it responsibly, and maybe for financial gains, they're putting people in positions where, one of my big ones, is that so many young dentists think unless you own 5 or 10 practices, you're a loser. It's just like, if you're not handling your first practice, don't open up your second one. And it's okay. You can still feel good about yourself, and then realize that everyone that's talking about how successful they are is probably lying.
So speaking of big microphones, do you remember the giant mic that where was that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have the picture still. Yes.
Oh my gosh. So I don't even know. I didn't even know they made mics that big. Okay. But Mike Czubiak, did you bring that mic? Where was that?
No, that was someone that came to one of our retreats to do some filming and stuff. And
Well, I want to
Okay.
know about Poland. Are you Polish?
I am Polish. We say Czubiak, it should be Czubiak, and so we don't pronounce it right. And I think I could be wrong, but as far as my line of people that came over in 1899, and were so just excited to get some free dusty land in Oklahoma to try to farm in the turn of the century, they're so excited that they really never talked about Poland ever again, or talked Polish or anything. And so I don't really have a big Polish heritage or anything like that. So I think I might be the first Czubiak to go back to Poland, go back to the homeland in 125 years. So
Yeah. And well, I am. So I haven't been back. So I have a son. My great grandparents came over in I think 1916, Ellis Island through New York, immigrants, and then came west. But Gonsowski, Gonsowski, is my mother's father's or my mom's maiden name. So and they came from Krakow, Poland.
Yeah.
And
We were just talking about this the other day, and Michael and I were saying, like, where do you yearn to go? And we were talking about Italy and these different places that we haven't actually traveled to yet. And Poland was on my list. That was specifically because I'm under the understanding there's some gorgeous places, some gorgeous land in Poland, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I didn't either. And so this planning the trip really helped bring that around. It's, of course, we accumulated so many points over COVID and just credit card spending and all that. My wife said, "Where in the world would you like to go? What's your big thing you want to do? Safari, whatever, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "I want to go to a concentration camp." And wow. Um, but there's whatever it is, I feel like I need to just go and put a face on something and just be able to understand it and feel it. That's the beauty of traveling, is really getting to see the whole view of things. And so I think as humans, we need to remind ourselves of how movements work and how they happen. And just like I was in Boston last month or the month before, and just doing the Freedom Trail and looking at these places where people have risked their lives to talk about democracy and putting it together and stuff. It's so inspiring. So it may sound weird that I'm going to say I might be I think I might be inspired by going to a concentration camp. But, I've heard stories from patients of mine, one of them who had escaped, concentration camps. His whole family was wiped out and he was able to do it. He was the sweetest, kindest man I've ever met in my life, and was so like balanced and normal and amazing and inspirational and all those things. I'm like, okay, I just want to see all that. So yeah. So
So it's fascinating. Okay, so many things I want to unpack here because your mind, Dr. Czubiak, is one of the most interesting minds that I know, and in the most strange and simple ways in some cases, right? Just in terms of your mindset, the way you view the world. I won't totally deep dive into it, but everything you're talking about, it reminds me of a couple of things. One in particular is that you used to do this mission work, and you probably still do, but you would come back and I would say, man, are you inspired by like what a difference you made in the mission work? And do you remember what you said to me?
absolutely.
Yeah. Are you willing to share?
I am, but I have to preface it by saying you get out of things, and I was less than fulfilled because, and this is just me, you get out of whatever experience, whatever you need or whatever you're supposed to get. So people we go with, they always get really pumped up with it and everything.
And so, with clarity regarding specifically when you came back from mission work, what you had shared with me when I asked, man, do you feel like you made a difference? But you were treating, you know, issues post, whatever. It was past the point of no, and you weren't educating people, if I recall. And so it was like, it's going to just do this again and again. It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it is important to, so all right. So here's my thinking about, like, with Mike, what you said about doing bigger, doing things for the bigger cause and all that. I've had many discussions about altruism, and you should really do things without having any part of you feeling good about it in a way. And I think it is perfectly okay to be selfishly getting something out of giving or doing for others. Because in my old age, I can tell you the only thing that matters is our connections and our community, and those things, the things and all that stuff just doesn't matter, but how you connect and the people that you maybe inspired, or you have irritated so much that there'll be nothing like you or whatever, is like, those are the long lasting things that go on. So when you go down and you do work or wherever you go and you do all this great stuff, that is awesome stuff and all that. For me, though, I'm always a root cause guy. I'm going, why are we down here? I'm even thinking, is this embarrassing? What if we had dentists from Grenada coming here to take care of our kids, or people coming from Honduras and coming here to help our homeless? Are they asking for this, or are we just being this? I don't know. This is just the weird stuff that I start thinking about. And so I think about sustainability and things. And there's actually a guy in Camarillo, which I think I need to connect with again. So he created, and because we were going down to Guatemala, he also has a Guatemala. He's from Guatemala, and he has this organization where they just get $150 and they give it to a family. Basically, you go to school till fifth grade. After fifth grade, you end up not going to school unless you have about $150 a year for schooling. And so it ends up that these kids don't go to school. They end up hanging around. They call them the trash, like trash dumps and stuff, looking for things. And then they end up in gangs, and their life is forever moved in that direction. So $150 can keep them in school and keep them away from gangs. And I think I love that sort of thing. For me as a dentist, I like it. I know I should be more like, yeah, you fix a tooth and you really fix something. I don't know. I would rather like turn these lives completely around. So I'm like looking at something like that, $150, man, that's nothing for like changing the life of someone forever. So anyway, that's kind of, I have this weird view of things sometimes.
I don't think it's weird at all. And I've talked in my 18 years in the industry, talked to thousands of dentists and in different practices, different situations. And the ones that take it to the next level, whatever that is, the next level is, whether it's within their own practice, whether it's within giving back. I think they think more like you. So you're not on an island is what I'm saying. At least with what I've seen, I think a lot of deep thinkers and successful dentists and other people think very similar. And you're right. It's not just about treating that tooth. It's about how you can impact that patient, or like you said, treat their whole mouth and maybe save their life, or to interact with them as humans. That's why I've always been attracted to sales and communication and outreach. So it's all right, Mike. I think you're on the right track and doing the right things. And I think more people, our audience, and including, need to do more of that, not just focusing on what the task is, but again, think about what the bigger picture is in the humanity thing. So that's why I enjoy, these type of conversations, as well as what we're doing with Influential Dental and then working with Julieanne is, you can do more, just be more. And it's okay. You don't have to apologize for anything.
So I have a question for you. I always feel like even though I feel like I know somebody, I don't really know them. I'm always feeling like there's so much behind what you know, and things are always evolving and unfolding. But you talk about altruism, you talk about different things. Where are you at? Like, there's two things I have to ask you. One is like, what has inspired you? Who've been your mentors? Were they gurus? Were they philosophies? What has made you who you are today? And then the other would be, what do you want to be when you grow up? I guess, like what next? Because I'm just, it's like, where are you leading with all of this? Do you have a big picture vision of what this all looks like? And why do you need that inspiration to go to Poland and, visit a concentration camp? And are you going to die? Are you going to live? Are you fine? How's your tooth taken care of? No, anyway, that's like 12 questions.
No,
And I
I
don't
know,
do
and I
math
can
well.
answer them all with 3 words. I
Okay.
don't know. I really don't know. It's always funny to think we're like, what we do is like, for me, I say I've just been blown here. Yeah, I go wherever the wind blows me. Now, I do have the idea where I do think of my future, and I do feel like I don't generally have heroes because I don't know people enough to say that they're my hero, but I do see heroic acts. But I do know one hero, and that's really my mom. She always told me, whatever you do, you're going to be great at. Just something like that. She may have been lying through her teeth, and I really don't care because I believed it. And it has made me think that I'll be successful in whatever I do. So I don't go into things with any sort of fear or, I can just go out and just do things. And it doesn't really matter how I get there or even where I get there. So I have always been I've always been into setting goals and reaching that. Now, why is that? I have no idea. That's just something I was born with. I was lucky enough to have that, where it's just, I would set goals. I would sacrifice today for tomorrow. It's just like, that's something that's always been easy to me. So that's why it's sort of an unfair advantage, I think, for people to have that sort of thing where they're willing to sacrifice and do the education so you can do that later and whatever. But then my life was changed. I'm not sure who wrote this, but I was eating a Chinese food lunch, and I got my fortune cookie. I opened it up, and it said, "It's just as important to enjoy each bite as it is the whole meal." And I'm like,
I was totally going to say, wait a second. This is not how you live your life, is just sacrifice, sacrifice. I mean, I was going to say, I know you so much better than that. So wait, there's a balance.
and it's so true that it's okay to like the process and to enjoy the process that you go through to get to wherever you think you want to go. And then if you do that, it doesn't matter. Okay. These are just things that influenced me. I remember one time, the first dentist I ever worked for as an assistant, I worked as an assistant to see if I liked dentistry. And he was always really he wanted to buy $1 million house. And that was when $1 million house meant something. This is back in the 80s. And so he said, "Hey, Mike, I finally did it. I got myself a $1 million house," which did unfortunately burn down in the fires in Los Angeles in January. But anyway, so I go over there and see his house, and it's, a nice house, at the time and all that. But I see a book on his nightstand, and I look at it, and it was something to the effect like, "What do you do when what you have isn't enough?" or something like that. And it was just like, sometimes when you say, "This is where I'm a sacrifice so I can be here," and then you get there and you're like, "What is this?" I think it's a recipe for disaster. So even, can I bring up, I'm gonna just float this out there because I'm trying to get
Why
thoughts.
am I scared?
Oh, you should be scared, because this is something that, I don't mean to be offensive on this and all of this, but
He's totally going to offend now. That's what that is a setup for, Michael.
Speak your mind.
okay, this may be my this I'm gonna declare it right here. That's the other thing, is, and I got this from Steve Sperry: declare it, and those
Declare
things
it.
happen.
Own it.
So I'm declaring that I might start a podcast called, I'm not sure exactly the name, but it was going to be F asterisk asterisk K, servant leadership. And
We just wrapped an entire podcast about
on
how
servant leadership.
amazing servant leadership is. So
I know this is
maybe we need to space these out, Michael
exactly.
Keeter. Or I won't tell you who that was with, but they are highly influential.
You can edit this out also, which is fine.
I'm playing. No, we're all candid here because I think everybody learns from different things, right? And I
So,
mean, absolutely.
and I don't know everything. I mean, I've definitely read tons of books on that. And I understand people, if it's working for you, that's awesome. For me, if I'm being a servant leader, and then my leaders that I'm developing leave me for 25 cents an hour down the street, I'm like, I've been serving you, and then you just like blow out of here. I ask you to stay 3 minutes later, and you say no, that my shift ends at 5. And I could see that would be my road to being a very grumpy old man. So for me, serve it, like the whole concept of just, you're there to serve. I think we're there for win-win situations. We serve people because it makes us feel good. And then if they grow and they have a job and they feel better about themselves, fantastic. But just this whole idea that you just like sacrifice and you just serve. For me, it doesn't resonate. So the idea of the podcast is taking some of the leadership things that I think are off track and doing an episode on each one of them. And then the season 2 is I bring someone on this show to tell me why I'm totally wrong, and just sit there and just tell me why I'm off base. This is, I've heard you say this quote. Yeah, tell me why, why I'm wrong. Cause I'm okay. Cause this is just
I
how,
love this.
this is how I learn. It's just like, bring it on. But because sometimes when we have these opinions on things, it's our own ignorance that gives me this thought. So at my level of what I understand about it, it doesn't work for me. I know I would end up being a grumpy old man from that. So anyway, I apologize to everyone.
No, I love the breaking news on our podcast that we're going to have another amazing podcast soon.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
agree with you, Mike. I think you need to listen to different points of view and have your own epiphanies on what's right or wrong. And you can only give and give and give and give. And then, it's okay to get a little bit back. And I agree with uplifting others around you. That's a more enjoyable and fun thing to be, at least for my existence. I mean, I want to be around a bunch of jerks and grumpy people as well, and just give to them and have them continue to be grumpy and jerks and be successful. And I'm going to be happy and penniless, right? No, I want to. It can be a win-win for all of us. So I'm right there with you. So I say go for it and do it. And I'd love to talk to you more about this, about that too.
Okay, so you guys, we are coming up on the hour here. What else can we share with our incredible listeners? First and foremost, I want to definitely give a shout out to some of the companies that have supported us, Dexus and Weave and Pearl, and some of these guys that are in our magazine Influence. And Mike Czubiak, I'd love to have you in our next magazine issue too. Let's do a spread on some of the stuff that you're working on with systemic health. I think it would be, or oral systemic health. And let's make sure that we feature something in there that would help people, because I do think it's an important mission that you're on. But Michael, you always have this list of questions because you're so afraid that I'm going to drop the ball. So come on, give us a doozy. What's one that we can ask Czubiak?
No, my hard-hitting question is, and it's not very hard-hitting because, again, we've talked about some pretty serious matter, obviously systemic health, and that's huge. And I know we're joking and having fun, which is a whole other thing. That's leading to my question about having fun. So obviously you work very hard, Dr. Czubiak. You also like to have fun. I can tell by your mannerisms and just enjoying yourself here. But yeah, what do you do for fun to just, enjoy? You live in Camarillo, beautiful part of the country in Southern California. What do you do for fun and enjoyment versus, all the stuff you do in dentistry?
Yeah, I just go online and troll people. I mean, that's
Okay,
just
that's fun. That is fun.
actually. Actually, here's my excitement these days. It's just playing ukulele. um,
So, by the way, Michael Keeter, he is a musician,
No, I
and so
know.
he has a whole studio in his house of musical equipment. No, go ahead, play something,
I
Michael.
know I definitely like music, but honestly, the truth is that um, I pretty much kind of work 24/7. And I know that that's not the life balance that people are supposed to have, but what is work? I mean, so I'm always a problem solver. So, like, my big projects going on right now, besides, I stopped seeing patients in last August. So now I'm working on doing all the things in my practice that I've always wanted to do, creating the programs and things that I've always wanted to do, but was just not enough bandwidth to do it. So I do that at the office. And so that's kind of my fun. And then I knew that, I've tried to create my financial goals and stuff. And one of them is not having my kids have to like pay tons of money to take care of me when I get old. And, if I end up in some sort of assisted living or whatever, I don't have assisted living insurance. So I decided to buy some places in Arizona that I could use as like a insurance policy against that. And I did it in an area. It's Bisbee, Arizona. It's a little. Have you been there, Michael? Oh yeah,
I live in the east. I live kind of by Chandler. I live in Queen Creek. So yeah, it's
yeah.
not that far.
Okay, yeah. So, it's an old copper mining town. The music scene is phenomenal. And the places are all these miners' shacks and stuff. Everything's 120 years old. So I've been restoring these places, getting them back to their glory, and then renting them out. And then, if I get sick, we can sell them and have that. If we don't, then the kids can sell them and do whatever they want with them. But I just
They're
love
so
going.
cool, by the way. I just have to chime in because I stayed in one and it's so cool. The biggest problem. So Michael, like if you know how, so Michael and I started a personal and professional development company. And so one of the things that we were saying is we have to level up on the health and wellness front in addition to all of the business stuff. And I'm not kidding. If we stay in one of his places, we'll level up because how many stairs are there, or steps to the place up on the hillside? How many?
It depends on which floor you're on. It's either going to be 70 or 85.
85. I think mine was for sure
Yours was
85
85.
plus 100. And he would take us shopping and we would have to buy groceries and carry him up these steps. And so you didn't want to buy bottles of liquor because they're too heavy. Anyway, yeah, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you like
So
as usual.
I can tell you that the places I've bought since then don't have so many stairs, but then again, my glutes are looking better than ever. I'll tell you that.
That.
But yeah, it's all hillside stuff and great views, and it's fun. So it's just, again, it's kind of like it's just like the dental practice. If I get that fixed up and just the way I want it, long after I'm gone, it should still sustain that, whatever it is, that organism is still going on. I think about these places that I'm restoring, and being 120 years old, which maybe for those listening on the East Coast is nothing, but for us in the West, this is like, it's old. But you think about all the people that have lived there and been through there and all that, and then being able to actually fix it up and create a lovely place for generations to come is something kind of fun. That just kind of means something to me. And I just love improving things. And I love learning things and learning new things and meeting interesting people. And so it's been a really fun. So that's kind of my thing. So
Are you going to run for mayor or something? Because I know you probably own that town now, because there's no way you could walk into town and spend any time someplace and not know every single person in the town.
It's when you become mayor, you go from knowing people to having people hate you horribly.
Yeah,
So,
there's that. Yeah, because you
yeah.
actually had the mayor right next door
And
to one of the places I
yeah.
stayed at.
Yeah. Yeah. And really it's fun to create, to be a part of a community. There is something to be said for a smaller community. Cause like when I lived in Santa Monica, for instance, I lived in an apartment building that had like 8 units. After 12 years, I knew nobody. It just was, actually, I knew one of my neighbors, but I didn't really get to but in a smaller area, you just get to know people so much better. And so it's been fun, because again, it's those connections. And that's why I think people do things like move off to different small little towns as they get older, because they really want to have those personal human connections, those personal connections that are really so important, that really power us and give us all that fun.
Are you playing music at some of the local venues and or doing comedy? That's what I need to know. Be honest. I know you are. I know it.
Okay, I am working. My brother he plays banjo, and not that we have to do bluegrass, but we're thinking about doing some bluegrass sort of thing. So I haven't really done any music there, but I have done a couple open mic comedy times, which is
And so, Michael, what we need to do is we need to coordinate with Mike, and we need to do a retreat. We'll go out there, do creative sessions for our business, and go out and watch him play music. But you got to play, like, you got to commit, you got to do like music or comedy, and let us know when you're playing or performing, and we'll wrap it around that. And we'll come
yeah.
out and we'll all, maybe we can rent one of your places and we can all
I mean, I'm happy to even wear sandwich board, and
collaborate.
I'm walking down the street to get people to come to the event too. So it can
Yeah,
be
he's a promoter.
I'm a
Michael
promoter.
Keeter is the best promoter that you could possibly know. We'll
Yeah.
pack it out.
And I have, I'm still in the same band that I was in dental school. So it's been 38 years, something like that. We still play, we did college parties, and then we did the bar scene around Hollywood, Santa Monica, that sort of thing. And then we did the original thing for 5 or 6 years or something like that. And then we started playing, 30th birthday parties, 40th birthday parties. Now we're playing funerals, but, yeah, but so I've been wanting to get them down there and do like a mini tour of that area, because it's just really fun and interesting thing, and it's so different from the LA scene, because there nobody thinks that they're going to get rich off playing music, so they just do whatever. It's kind of like going back to the art gallery that I had with the students showing their work. It was just stuff that was coming from their heart. It wasn't what they thought was going to sell. They haven't learned that yet, that you actually have to make a living. So they just did stuff that just meant something to them. And the music in Bisbee is sort of like, it's just music that means something to the people doing it. And it's not just what the record companies are looking for. So it's just the authenticity of the area is something that is exciting to me.
It's a really special place. I'm so amazed by that location. It's so beautiful. It's so happy to be there. It's so charming, you know? So we definitely let's plan a trip. Let's make it like a deal, a pact that we're going to plan a trip, but I want to do it when you're out, when you're committed to performing. Offline, we'll plan a date and we'll have to come out and see. It'll be fun. So, okay. So parting words of wisdom, we do have to wrap up. I know it's the end of our show. We could probably go on and banter all day long because that's how we roll. Michael Keeter, I'm so happy that you get to know Dr. Czubiak a little bit today.
Yeah, no, I look forward, Mike, to get to know you more, and I really appreciate your insights. Obviously on the more serious side, but also on the fun side, because we do all need. It's not a balance, but we need to enjoy what we do, whether it's all in with work, and that's why I see our company with what I'm doing with Julieanne. It is truly fun and it's inspiring, but we're doing good things. It's fulfilling us. So I get where you're coming from, all those different levels, but it's good to meet good people and know good people. And obviously, I appreciate this opportunity to get to know you better, and I'm sure our podcasters do as well. So look forward to our next interaction. Hopefully it'll be in person. And anytime you're out in the Phoenix area, please do look me up, and we'll go have a meal or something. So yeah, it's been a great time talking with you.
How can people reach you, Dr. Czubiak, or do you not want them to right now? Where are you at? Like, can people connect with you, and what's the story?
Yeah, easiest way to get a hold of me is just Mike at CamarilloSmiles.com.
Amazing.
And if it's something that if I don't get back to you, just remind me because I need that.
Because he's very, very influential and important, but he's also a very grounded,
I
humble
travel
human.
a lot. I travel, and when I travel, sometimes things get buried. So I travel every week pretty much.
But you're still speaking. So if somebody wants to hire you to speak on these topics that we've talked about, you're open to considering that.
Yeah, and I'm really excited because 2026, it's really been exciting that there's so many people that want to, because I speak on all sorts of things between leadership and culture change to periodontal issue and hygiene superstar stuff and also airway stuff. The whole thing about the mouth body connection, I'm getting so many people wanting to have me speak about that. So I'm really excited that there's interest. I was in Chicago last month. ADA put on a program on oral systemic health, and Brett Kessler, the president, he's really behind this movement. I'm not sure how much they're going to totally get into it, but it's great to see that people are seeing that we have this huge opportunity, and you can choose to help or not. And one last thing, in dental school, we were always teased by the medical students. We're called gum gardeners and molar mechanics, and we got so upset. We're not mechanics. And then we get out of school and we become molar mechanics. And so this is a little bit more doctoring, and it's really the future, because between salivary testing or even testing from tears, there's so much lab work that's going to be done or can be done through dental offices. And that is where people's most frequent point of contact in their healthcare life really happens is in a dental office. So the future for this is huge. And I think we also are way more caring, I say this humbly, than our physician partners that are given 6 minutes to see you and get the heck out of the room. So we really are, and hygienists in particular, are the secret to a healthy America, and an America that does more proactive stuff and doesn't go broke trying to fix all the problems that we've created.
Are you, a couple quick questions on that? First of all, I need a dental appointment because my appointment was due, let's see, when the fires came through and displaced me. By the way, I got displaced as well. And then I never booked my appointment. And here I work with dentists. That's really bad. But do you do the saliva tests in office? I'm
Oh, yeah.
curious. Or you do?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an option.
Salivary testing, we do sleep
Salivary.
testing, we do all sorts of testing, and even something as simple as taking a little plaque and sticking on a slide and being able to see right there in front of you the bacteria rolling around. I mean, there's ways of assessing.
Really gross.
So Julieanne,
Yeah.
you need to go make an appointment at Camarillo Smiles. What are you doing?
I'm a little far from you now. That's
Okay.
the only reason I changed. Oh yeah, he's making
Make
fun of me
more
right now.
more excuses. Just take care of your oral health, please.
That's okay. I'm on it today. I'm making an appointment. So, and where are you speaking? Are you speaking any place, since the majority of our audience is dental professionals and dentists and high achievers in the dental space? where are you speaking next? Because there probably a lot of them are going to be in the area. Do you have an upcoming event they can come hear you?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting prepared for our annual sessions in Dallas with AAOSH. So it's going to be actually, I think it conflicts with something you're doing, I think. September
Okay.
11th through 13th in Dallas is the
Mm,
AAOSH annual sessions, and amazing speakers. And yeah, I'll be there leading the charge for everyone to be in a community of like-minded people. I mean, that's the beauty of the people that I'm hanging out in this organization. They're all like-minded people that actually really care about people. And just as far as priorities go, doing better for our patients and getting better outcomes is really kind of the big part of that. So it's been really, so that's been kind of like taking up all my time and energy. And then the hygiene associations are really been reaching out to me. So I've been talking to a whole bunch of hygiene associations about doing things. And then I'm getting into the DSO space. I mean, I always think that if you want to see where the future of dentistry is going, check out the DSOs. As an independent person, don't fear them, don't hate them, just emulate them, because emulate the things you want to, the idea of being able to of what they think is important. The reason I use a phase contrast microscope to look at bacteria is actually I got the idea from a DSO up in Willamette, is a Willamette dental group or something like that. And I'm like, wow, that is really cool, because they understand when you look at AI, that's who's really picking that up a lot is the DSOs and those sorts of things for efficiency. So rather than fearing DSOs, we really have to see, they're the ones that can afford to get master marketers, people with MBAs looking at marketing plans, and they're teaching great leadership and case acceptance and all that sort of stuff. And that's why we have access to that through coaching and stuff. And if you don't have a coach in different aspects of life, then you're missing out. So we need to look at what the big boys are doing. And like they say, if it's been done before, it's probably possible. So
yeah.
we don't have to roll over like the pharmacies did and how physicians are doing. We can actually be independent and live with DSOs. There's a place for everyone. So
Well put. Well put. So Dallas, September 11th through 13th. If you guys are out there, check out Mike Czubiak. Michael Keeter and I will be in Orlando leading an elite team course, which is for doctors and their teams if somebody is in that area and interested in joining us for that. And so you're right, we did have a conflict. We have a 2-day course then. And so otherwise I would have come to hear you speak there. Of course, I've heard you speak many times and I love it. It's always absolutely entertaining in addition to being very informative. But without further ado, quick shout out to our collaborators, American Dental Institute, who is in collaboration with us for this amazing podcast, Influential Dental. And that sounded really arrogant, but it's amazing because of the incredible people we bring on. So we're so grateful to all of you. And Michael Keeter, why don't you wrap us up?
Yeah, no, thank you, Julieanne, and thank you, Dr. Czubiak. It's been a wonderful time to speak with both of you and learn more about you, and look forward to, again, meeting and talking with you more about American Academy for Systemic Health, because I do think that's very important, but also just to get to hear you play the ukulele and hear you in Bisbee. So I look forward to coming, like I said, to having you come out to Phoenix. I know we'll be working more together and collaborating just because, again, like-minded people. And again, I appreciate this opportunity.
Nice. Thank you to our amazing listeners. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I know we're all late for our meetings now. It's going to be great that we're all going to show up and have to explain this one. Take care, you guys. Thank you so much.